You know, sometimes I put on a show, or I get a little more open and vulnerable, depending on who I'm with. Catherine O'Hara spent 50 years making everyone laugh. She created some of the most loved characters ever on TV. But behind all those jokes was a woman who had secrets hardly anyone knew about. There was this rare medical thing doctors found by chance. There were the years she got quiet in writers' rooms full of guys. And then there was that morning in January 2026 when emergency people rushed to her home in Brentwood at 4:48 a.m. We have some breaking news, some sad news. The Emmy-winning actress Catherine O'Hara has passed away. She was just 71. What went on in those last hours? And why did Hollywood lose one of its shining stars so fast? Catherine O'Hara was born on March 4, 1954, in Toronto. Right from the start, as the sixth kid out of 7, the house was already full of noise, action, and laughs. Her Irish Catholic mom and dad raised them in Etobicoke, and every day there felt like a little performance where laughing was just as important as being polite. She said later she was a good Catholic girl deep down, and that little sentence showed the cozy feeling of a family that used jokes to hold everyone together. Her brothers and sisters were Michael, Mary Margaret, Mean, Marcus, Tom, and Patricia, and each one brought more fun and energy to the house. Catherine figured out young that good timing and being quick-witted helped you get by in a big family. Those skills stuck with her the way some kids pick up piano or dancing. Humor was everywhere in her life and became the real beat of who she was. Her big sister Mary Margaret became her own kind of artist with a voice that could grab everyone's attention. She went to Ontario Art College and then sang in a pop and soul band called Dollars, doing covers of big names like Etta James and Otis Redding. Her 1988 album Miss America turned into a cult hit later on. Even though she didn't put out tons of records, other musicians treated her like a secret gem. She did backup singing for Morrissey, the Henrys, John and Mary, and Nico Case, and groups like Cowboy Junkies and Holly Cole sang her songs. The sisters grew up in a home where being creative was always okay, and Catherine picked up that same creative beat in her own style, later writing and singing songs in a mighty wind. The O'Hara house didn't just make performers, it made people who told great stories. By the time Catherine finished high school at Binghamthorpe Collegiate Institute in 1974, teachers and friends had already seen how she could brighten up any room. One teacher was Carolyn Parrish, who went on from teaching to become Appeal Board trustee in 1985, a member of Parliament from 1993 to 2006, a Mississauga city councillor, and the 7th mayor of Mississauga in 2024. Years later, after Catherine passed in January 2026 at 71, Mayor Parrish remembered her as an amazing person who once sat in her class. Those two paths that started in the same school in Etobicoke went in totally different directions, one to politics, one to show business, and the teacher-student link gave Catherine's story a nice quiet full-circle feeling. Right after high school in 1974, Catherine started at Second City Theatre in Toronto. Not performing yet, but working as a waitress carrying plates while dreaming of being on that stage. She tried out and got hit with Joe Flaherty's straight-up advice to keep her day job. So she kept waiting tables but watched the shows, rode buses and streetcars to the theater every day, and hid in the back to study timing, rhythm, and how jokes hit the crowd. For some people, that rejection would kill the dream. But she hung around the world she wanted to join. All the comedy she soaked up just by watching became her real training before she ever got on stage. Things flipped when they made her Gilda Radner's understudy later in 1974. She was only 20 with zero real training. But suddenly she was getting ready to step in for someone creating characters that would soon be huge on Saturday Night Live. Gilda left in 1975 to join Lorne Michaels for the first season of NBC's Saturday Night. And the spot she left at Second City Toronto gave Catherine her chance. The waitress they'd told to stick with her day job was now a full cast member, standing in the same place Gilda had, showing that real talent can pop up when no one sees it coming. As things kept rolling, she joined the original cast of SCTV when it started in September 1976. She worked with Eugene Levy, John Candy, Joe Flaherty, Dave Thomas, Harold Ramis, and Andrea Martin. The show acted like a fake TV network and used that idea to make tons of sketches with weird shows and crazy characters. Catherine jumped into impressions of Lucille Ball, Tammy Faye Bakker, Gilda Radner, Katharine Hepburn, and Brooke Shields. Every time she did one, people forgot they were seeing Catherine because she vanished so perfectly into the role. SCTV turned into a classic super fast and stood right next to Saturday Night Live as one of the biggest sketch shows ever. But her time on SCTV wasn't as easy as it looked from her acting. The writer's room was pretty much all guys, and they mostly wrote parts for themselves. She said the women might get just 2 lines in a 50-page script, or show up as background, or walk in just to get knocked out of the scene. Sometimes she whispered her ideas to Dave Thomas so he could say them like they were his, just to keep the ideas alive. In season 1, the women didn't even get paid as writers even though they added a lot to the show's funny voice. That sexism was normal back then, but Catherine kept trying in that tough room, waiting for her turn to speak up. Finally she and Andrea Martin made their own space by writing stuff themselves. They sat off to the side, throwing ideas around, pushing each other to dream up sketches where women weren't just extras but real powerhouses. Catherine came up with characters like Lola Heatherton, this shaky lounge singer mixing Lola Falana's energy with Joey Heatherton's sweet fierceness. Fans loved Lola so much that years later they still talked about sketches like Way to Go Woman, where Lola interviewed Mother Teresa wearing a shiny gold outfit. Catherine and Andrea changed the show by not waiting for the guys to give them anything. They grabbed the pen themselves. All her hard work paid off when she won a Primetime Emmy for Outstanding Writing in a Variety series in 1982 for the SCTV Network 90 episode called Moral Majority Show. She got 5 Emmy nods during her SCTV time, 4 of them in 1982 alone for episodes like Cycle 2, Show 2, Staff Christmas Party, and The Great White North Palace. Another nod came in 1983 for The Christmas Show. Her Emmy win came when SCTV had grown to 90-minute episodes on NBC, a time lots of fans call the golden years. She left the main cast before season 5 in 1982 but came back for guest appearances until the show ended in 1984. Around then she had one of the weirdest moments in her career. During a break in SCTV deals in 1981, she said yes to joining Saturday Night Live. But when NBC picked up SCTV for 90-minute episodes in May 1981, she quit SNL after just a few days and before going on air. Rumors flew that the wild head writer Michael O'Donoghue scared her off. He was famous for writing danger on the wall in meetings and freaking out new people. But Catherine said later the rumors were silly. She just didn't like living in New York and wanted to go back to Toronto and her comedy family. She knew folks thought she was nuts for leaving SNL, but she felt everything happened the right way. The story stuck around for years, and some said O'Donoghue's crazy temper chased her away. Gossip grew big about it, but in a 2024 interview Catherine called it all ridiculous. She said she wasn't scared of him one bit and saw him at parties after that. What made her leave wasn't fear, it was missing home. She went back to SCTV right when NBC gave them the new deal, and her SNL spot went to her old high school best friend, Robin Duke. That little twist made the whole thing feel nicer. Leaving SCTV again before season 5 in 1982 puzzled critics because she wasn't jumping to some big movie or TV gig. She just quietly disappeared from the cast list. People wondered why she left when the show was so hot. But even while stepping away, she won her Emmy that year, showing her ideas never stopped even when she changed direction. Her independent side became part of her story. Walking away from SNL at a time that could have made her a huge American star showed she cared more about loyalty than big fame. She loved her Toronto home, her SCTV crew, and the family feeling she'd built. Her choices weren't the usual star path, but they showed someone who picked happiness over stress and comfort over spotlight. Through all those years her friendship with Eugene Levy kept getting stronger. They met in 1972 when she saw him in Godspell, and they dated a bit but decided being friends worked better. She joked later that if they'd stayed together longer they might not have clicked so well as work partners. Their creative spark grew on SCTV and then in Christopher Guest movies like Waiting for Guffman in 1996, A Mighty Wind in 2003, and For Your Cons. Iteration in 2006. Their teamwork became super famous when they played Moira and Johnny Rose on Schitt's Creek from 2015 to 2020. It felt so natural after years of working together. Then in 1987 she got cast as Delia Dietz in Beetlejuice. They filmed that year and the movie came out in March 1988. Delia was the super uptight New York artist with big dramatic moods that brought both tension and laughs to the screen. Catherine threw herself into the weirdness so hard that even in crazy visual scenes she stood out. The dinner party scene where everyone gets possessed and dances the day-o became one of the movie's best parts, and her perfect timing and faces helped make it legendary. While shooting in Los Angeles, she met production designer Bo Welch. He created the odd, magical look of Beetlejuice, and they kept chatting by their lockers on set. Their talks were easy and full of laughs, but Bo never asked her out, which confused her. She said she waited and waited for him to make a move. He admitted later he thought he wasn't even supposed to talk to actors, so that's why he held back. Meanwhile, she wrote in her diary that they were meant to get married someday and wished he'd ask. When filming went to Vermont for outside shots, she finally told Tim Burton how Bo talked to her all the time but never asked her out. Burton smiled and said he'd handle it. Soon after, Bo came up with a low-key invite. He said the art team was going to a swap meet and asked if she wanted to join. She laughed at how shy it sounded but said yes, and that became their first date. It was simple and sweet, just what they needed to start. She joked later that he needed a push and she wished she'd asked first. Even though the invite was basic, their bond grew strong fast. They only had a little time left in Vermont before filming ended, but things got serious quick. By the end of Beetlejuice they were a couple, and it turned into something that lasted. Not long after, she made a big choice to move from Toronto to Los Angeles for him. It was huge, leaving the city where she'd made her name to start fresh in a place that didn't feel like home yet. In 1992 they got married, and Tim Burton gave them a private tour of the Vatican as a wedding gift, connecting back to how he'd helped them get together. Their sons Matthew came in 1994 and Luke in 1997, and both ended up in set design and construction, following their dad's behind-the-scenes path. Catherine O'Hara married Bo Welch on April 25, 1992. From then on their lives flowed together in a gentle way for more than 30 years until she passed in January 2026. They first noticed each other on the Beetlejuice set in 1988, where she was a star and he was the production designer. At first it was just in the background. O'Hara even told Tim Burton that Bo talked to her a lot but never asked her out. Burton smiled and gave him a nudge during a break, and Bo finally got the courage on their first day shooting at the house. That one moment started a love story that went on for decades. Not long after the wedding they bought a home in Brentwood in 1994 for $1.25 million. It was a cozy 4-bedroom, 4-bathroom, 2,606 square foot house where every spot slowly filled with family memories and a steady, full life. Tim Burton wanted to make their marriage special with something amazing and full of his magic touch. He surprised them with a private tour of the Vatican in Rome, a gift he'd gotten once and never forgot. Catherine called it amazing and incredible later because it opened doors most people never see. A fun priest took them through magical feeling spaces. He showed them rooms tourists can't go in. At one point he took them on the same elevator the Pope uses to go down to St. Peter's Basilica for Mass. In a private museum with glass cases full of gifts from all over the world, crowns, jewels, and treasures from faraway places glowed under the lights. Burton's gift showed his big heart too. He wanted their wedding memories to last way past one day, and this made sure they did. As the tour went on, things got even more dreamlike. The priest let them open the glass cases with priceless stuff and even hold the holy objects. Crowns sat in their hands like time stopped for them. Once the priest nudged Bo's backpack and joked about hiding a crown in it, teasing like a buddy. They even stepped into the Pope's private rooms, a place usually locked tight. No one stopped their photos, and riding the private elevator to St. Peter's felt like a secret adventure just for them. That memory stayed strong for years and came up whenever anyone asked about the wildest gift they'd ever gotten because nothing else compared. While their careers grew, Catherine and Bo started a family. Their first son Matthew arrived in 1994, and before he could walk he was carried on a red carpet at Tim Burton's exhibit in October that year. Their second son Luke came in 1997, and both boys went to the Cat in the Hat premiere together in November 2003. As time went on, the boys found their love behind the scenes in set design and construction instead of acting. They even helped build sets for their mom's Emmy-winning show Schitt's Creek. During the 2023 actors' strike, one son lost steady work in LA and spent almost a year and a half fixing up the family house. He learned to make things strong and lasting. That work carried the same quiet pride their parents had through all their Hollywood time. Even with packed schedules, Catherine and Bo always balanced work and family, making a home where their sons Faye LT supported no matter what was happening in the business. More than 20 years before, during a regular doctor check for tuberculosis screening before their youngest started nursery school, Catherine found out something shocking. After odd EKG tests and a quick chest x-ray, the doctor told her heart was on the right side of her chest and all her inside organs were flipped like a mirror image. It was dextrocardia with situs inversus. Before it got too serious, Bo jumped in with a perfect dry joke, saying her head must be on backwards. His funny line made the surprise easier right away. Catherine laughed later about being a freak and raised a toast to good health with the same warm way she handled everything in life. Years later she stepped into a different kind of story that linked her forever to Macaulay Culkin. When Home Alone started filming on February 14, 1990, she played Kate McAllister while Macaulay, born August 26, 1980, handled a huge movie at only 9. They filmed for 83 days and finished on May 8, 1990. With an $18.3 million budget and $476 million worldwide, it changed holiday movies forever. O'Hara's warmth and perfect timing made the worried mom feel real, and her feelings helped hold the whole story together while everyone waited for Kate to find Kevin. During those months, Catherine saw how much pressure Macaulay was under. He'd been acting since 4, but nothing was like this. At 10 he was already called a superstar. In her December 1, 2023 Walk of Fame speech, she wondered out loud how any kid could handle that weight. Long days, emotional scenes, and stunts filled his time, and Catherine knew right away the boy needed more than just directions. He needed someone on his side who could tell when he was tired and help steady him before filming again. That caring became normal for them. Between takes she'd go over to him like a mom checking on her kid without making a fuss. The crew saw how she made sure he felt safe and not alone on the big movie set. In a 1990 interview she called him a sweet little guy who'd already learned pro work rhythms so young. Her being there gave him a safe spot, and their on-screen connection grew from that gentle care. One story from back then lasted years. During a tough emotional scene, Macaulay got nervous. The pressure built up, and someone remembered Catherine gently took him aside. No one heard what she said, but it calmed him down. When he came back, the nerves were gone and he nailed the scene. True or not, it became part of the sweet stories about them. People remembered how she stood by him like that proved a bond bigger than the movie. Their friendship lasted over 35 years. In 2024 Macaulay, now 45, told the New York Times she still hugged him hello and called him son. At his Walk of Fame event on December 1, 2023, she talked about the sweet precious 10-year-old she'd worked with and praised his humor that got him through early fame. She thanked him for letting his pretend mom celebrate his big moment. When she passed on January 30, 2026 at 71, he wrote a sad tribute saying he thought they'd have more time and he'd see her later. Way before that she built more of her legacy with Christopher Guest. In 1996 she did Waiting for Guffman with just a detailed outline, no full script. Everything was made up on the spot from characters they'd studied hard. She helped create the funny awkwardness of small-town theater people waiting for a critic named Mort Guffman who never shows because of snow. Her sharp improv made the fake documentary feel so real people forgot it was made up. Then in 2000 came Best in Show, where she played Cookie Fleck with Eugene Levy as calm Jerry, born with 2 left feet. Cookie's crazy past popped up through old boyfriends showing up one by one at the dog show, and Catherine did wild, honest improv monologues. The tea felt almost risky. When Winky the Norwich Terrier won Best in Show, the couple's Florida life flipped overnight, and fans carried Cookie's big energy long after. The best part was when Catherine and Eugene sang, "God Loves a Terrier." They made up the silly song right there and Catherine sang it in this high-floating voice. The words about God loving a terrier and its cute little derriere became fan favorites. Christopher Guest and Eugene Levy only wrote a thin outline, leaving all dialogue to happen in the moment. That freedom let Catherine hit fearless creativity most actors never reach. In 2003 she went even deeper in A Mighty Wind. As Mickey Crab she gave a performance full of real feeling, playing half of a broken folk duo reuniting for a PBS concert. Her small moves, looking down, holding her arms tight, showed a woman still hurt by old love. When she told Mitch performing was always about watching him, the line had a quiet sadness that stuck with people. All of it came from Christopher Guest's improv style. He and Eugene wrote detailed outlines and backstories but no dialogue lines. Actors went in knowing the feeling they needed but not the words. Catherine shined in that unsure space. Guests said it worked because actors stayed real to their characters. If it felt awkward or real on camera, that was perfect since life isn't rehearsed. Catherine's own life had more secret parts. She found out about her situs inversus with dextrocardia from a normal test over 20 years earlier. She learned only 1 in 8,000 to 10,000 people have it and over 100 gene changes can cause it. Her organs were perfect mirror flips. Her heart pointed right instead of left. Her liver was on the other side. But she had no problems from it. Doctors said lots of people live whole lives never knowing unless a scan shows it. Only a few have heart issues, and Catherine felt good knowing she was fine. She talked about it in public during a July 2020 online happy hour and used jokes to keep it light. By 2022 and 2024 she thought a lot about getting older and said she felt lucky to still be here. She told people turning 70 to picture living 20 more years and think what they'd do with that extra time. Her big comeback started in 2015 when she played Moira Rose on Schitt's Creek at 61. The show built slowly until Netflix put it out in January 2017, and suddenly new fans saw how great she was. She won 6 Canadian Screen Awards from 2016 to 2019, making her 60s a fresh winning time. Moira became a legend because Catherine made her a woman who demanded to be special her own way. She invented the voice, the moves, the big drama in every scene. The wigs came from remembering a woman who'd change her hair at dinner parties and walk back in like new. Catherine asked to wear different wigs every time, and the Levies said yes. Soon wigs were TV history. For Moira's weird words she read books full of rare terms. She made fans happy teaching odd words on Instagram Live in April 2020. Her notebooks were packed with strange musical language, and she didn't care about keeping it the same. She wanted Moira to sound totally unique. On September 20, 2020 she won the Emmy for Outstanding Lead Actress in a Comedy at 66. Schitt's Creek won 7 big categories that night, the first comedy ever to do it. It was her second Emmy, almost 40 years after the first. That sweet win felt warm in her later years. Her Golden Globe win on February 28, 2021 had the same happy feel. At 66 she took it from her couch while Beau played clapping sounds from his phone, making messy noise that cracked everyone up. She thanked Eugene and Dan Levy for letting her wear 100 wigs and talk like an alien. It was her first Golden Globe and felt like celebration she'd waited for. She kept going strong into her 70s.